What fun is a platformer without collectibles? In this video, I'll teach you how to add collectibles like these diamonds to your platformer. We'll look at different methods for animating them, how to add objects to a level using the TileMap system, make the player collect them, and finally how to display the number of items collected. First, we need a new class for our collectible diamond. We want to detect when the player touches the diamond, but we don't want the diamond to limit the player's movement. This case is perfect for the Area 2D node, so let's choose this as the root node. I'm also renaming the root node right away. For the visuals, we can either use a sprite or an animated sprite. If we just want a static diamond, then the sprite will do. I'm using the gem sprite sheet from the Sunnyland asset pack, but you can of course use whatever you like. Remember to set the H and V frames if your texture contains more than one sprite. If we want a bit more fun and make an animated collectible, then we either need to use an animated sprite instead of the sprite, or also add an AnimationPlayer. Let's look at how these two approaches work and pick our solution based on what we discover. We need to create the sprite frames the animated sprite can use. With the animated sprite node selected, we can go to the inspector menu and click where it says empty next to sprite frames and select sprite frames. This will create a new library of frames which we can add our animation to. If the sprite frames menu doesn't open up by itself, then click on your new sprite frames object in the inspector menu. This should open up the menu. The diamond just needs one animation for now, so I'm just renaming the default here to idle. And then we can add frames to the animation from a sprite sheet using this button here. Before choosing our frames, we'll need to make sure the number of sprites horizontally and vertically is set correctly. And then we just need to pick our frames in the order they'll appear and click Add Frames. We can turn looping on or off by clicking the Animation Loop button, and if we want it to play automatically when the diamond is loaded, then we can also click this Autoplay on Load button. Finally, we can view the animation using the playback buttons and change the frame rate of the animation here. You will want to use the AnimationPlayer if you either don't have a sprite sheet and want an animation that moves, squeezes and stretches the sprite, or if you want other complicated animations that changes more than just the sprite. With the AnimationPlayer node selected, the animation menu will either open by itself, or we can open it by clicking Animation down here. We then start by adding a new animation. Again, I'm calling this idle. Down here we can change if we want to use time or frames per second. I prefer using FPS. To the left we can set the frame rate and apply snapping to the frame rate we've chosen, and to the right we can zoom in and out. Next we can set the duration of the animation up here, which is now given as a number of frames of course. To the right of this we can make the animation loop, and just above and a bit to the left we can make the animation autoplay like we did with the animated sprite. If we select our diamond sprite now, there should be a key symbol next to each of the properties in the inspector menu. When we click on a key, the current value of the property will be added to the current frame of our animation. Now let's locate the scale properties and click on the key. Now our first frame has a scale of 1.1. Let's then select the next frame, change the scale a bit, and click on the key again. Finally, we can add easing to the frames by clicking on the specific key and either change the easing value manually or right-click and select a predefined value. Try using both the scale and position to create your own little animation for the diamond. The animation player can be used for a lot of fun things, and we can even call methods from it. However, I don't really need anything complicated for the diamonds right now, so I'll be using the animated sprite for the rest of this video. Before we start to add diamonds to our level so our player can collect them, we also need to add a CollisionShape 2D node to our scene. With the new node selected, we can then go to the inspector menu and create a new shape for it. I'm using a circle shape for my diamond here, but please do experiment with the different shapes to see which will fit your collectible the best. Now let's add some diamonds to our level scene. We can do this by adding instances of our diamond scene directly to our level scene. But in some cases, using the TileMap might be a better option. I prefer using the TileMap whenever I can. But please note that if you do this, you won't be able to alter exported variables directly on each instance. I'm creating a new TileMap layer for our diamonds. And then, to make it easier to keep track of all my TileMap layers, I'm also adding a new node 2D that will be the parent of all my TileMap layers. For the new TileMap, we then also need to create a new tileset. This tileset won't be using textures for each tile. Instead, we want to make instances of our diamond scene. For this, we need a scene collection, which we can create using the plus button down here. Now we can just click and drag our diamond scene into this new collection. And when we switch to the TileMap menu, we can now easily place our diamonds using Godot's TileMap system. Now we have diamonds placed in our level, but the player can't really pick them up yet. So let's go fix that. For things a player can somehow interact with, we need to first decide who should be detecting who. Should the player detect the diamond, or should it be the other way around? In a lot of cases, it can make sense to make the player detect when a collision or interaction somehow occurs. In my RPG, I do this for items the player will pick up and store in its inventory. However, the diamond in this game will be part of the scoring and not something the player will use at a later point. So the player doesn't even have to know if it collided with a diamond. It really is only relevant for the diamond itself and wherever we decide to store the scoring later. For this reason, I'm choosing that the diamond should be the one to detect and act on any collision with the player. To do this, I'm first checking which collision layer the player is on, and then set the diamond's collision mask to the same layer. The mask defines from which layers this node will look for collisions. And then we also need a script for the diamond to define what happens when this collision overlap occurs. The Area 2D node has a signal called bodyEntered, which we can use to detect the player. To connect the signal to our script, we can select the scene's root node and click on the Signal tab next to the Inspector menu to the right. This will open the Signals menu. Here we can right-click on our signal and select Connect. We then need to first locate and select the root node of the scene, which has the script we want to connect to. At the bottom left, a suggestion for which function we should connect to is already given. If this doesn't already exist in the script, then it will be created automatically when we hit Connect. My first idea is to just queue-free the diamond. Queue-free will delete the node at the end of the current frame. Now the diamonds will disappear when the player touches them. But it's a bit boring how they just disappear, so let's add an animation for this as well. The Sunnyland asset pack has an item feedback sprite sheet that I will be using for this. Let's add a collected animation to our animated sprite. If we make a reference to the animated sprite in our script, we can now play the collect animation before we queue-free the node. We also need to add a guard variable that makes sure that the code here is only called once. If we don't do this, the system might detect a new collision between the player and the diamond while the animation is running. This looks so much better. Finally, I want to add a signal that we can emit when the diamond has been collected. This will be used to update the scoring from the level scene later. In this project, I want to store the player's score in the level scene. So let's add a script to the root node of the level scene and also add a variable to keep track of the number of diamonds we've collected. We also want a new method that we can use to update the number of diamonds whenever a new one has been collected. I also want a signal that will be emitted whenever the number of diamonds has been updated. We will connect the diamonds collected signals to the level at a later point. But let's first look at how we can create a UI that displays the number of diamonds the player has collected. We need a new scene for the UI. If we use a panel node as the root node, then we get this semi-transparent background, which will make it easier to differentiate the UI from the game. This can be done in other ways as well, but using a panel like this is a good starting point. I also want a label to display the amount collected and a texture rect to show that it's diamonds we're collecting. I'm adding a simple text to the label so we can see what it looks like now. And then I also want the texture to show my diamond. Because the diamond is part of a sprite sheet, I will need a texture atlas to select which part of the sprite sheet we want to display. We can then use Edit Region to select the correct sprite. By creating a new label settings for the label, we can define how the label text should be displayed. I encourage you to experiment with these options on your own to get a feel for how it all works and what you prefer for your game. When we make UI elements, it's often a good idea to position the elements using anchors whenever possible. I want my label to be at the left center and my diamond texture to be at the right center. If we don't want the objects to be placed at the absolute edge of the scene, then we can use the offsets here to change this. Finally, we need to make sure that the minimum size of our root node actually includes all of our items correctly. While I test, I'm setting the label text to 999 to make sure there's room enough for 3 digits. And again, I encourage you to just experiment with the different anchors, offsets and so on to get a feeling for how it works and what you like. Our new UI also needs a script to update the label text whenever the player collects a new diamond. This needs a reference to the label, of course, and then a simple method that takes an amount as input and set the label text accordingly. Now we are ready to add the UI to the game. However, for UI items that we want to always be placed on top of the screen and not move around at all, we first need to add a canvas layer to the scene, and then add an instance of our UI as a child of this canvas layer. We now have diamonds that can be collected, a place that can keep track of how many we've collected so far, and a UI element to display this amount. Now it's time to connect it all. First, we want to connect all the diamonds' signals to the level scene. The diamonds become children of the Collectables TileMap layer when they've been instantiated. So if we keep a reference to the TileMap layer in our level, we should be able to just go through all of its children and connect the signals from the ready method. However, if we set a breakpoint here in the ready method and click on the remote tab when the game stops at our breakpoint, we can see that when we add objects using the TileMap, these won't actually be ready when the level's ready method is called. This is just how the TileMap system works. Instead, we can create a new method that connects the signals and call this deferred from the ready method. Deferred calls are mainly called at the end of process and physics frames, at which point the diamonds should be ready. And finally, we need to connect the level's signal to the UI, which we can do using the editor. We do this just like we did with the diamond collision earlier. Only now, when we've selected the UI node we want to connect to, we can click on the pick button and then select the update method we already made. I hope you liked this video, and remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell and all that if you want to see more like this in the future.